All right, guys, welcome to Daddy Share Space and welcome to my channel. So in today's episode of Daddy Share Space Daily, I didn't really see much in the comments that I need to respond to right now, but I was just thinking about, so I've actually in the past watched some Larry Hahn videos. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with who Larry Hahn is. If you do home building or framing, then you probably know who Larry Hahn is. I bought his book as well, and I'm reading through that. And basically he was a framer, and watching some of his videos, I saw that things are not super precise when you start talking about home building or home construction. And so I kind of put that on one side, and then on the other side you have like fine furniture making, which is all the way over to another extreme. So you want accuracy in both, but the level of accuracy is quite different when you look at it from, a bird's eye view. And that being said, as a new woodworker like myself, I've come to realize that sometimes you have to put into practice that more construction grade assembly, and then there's other times where the more finer details are required. And as a new woodworker, trying to do both at the same time is almost like trying to play multiple instruments or trying to learn multiple instruments at the same time. Like, say if you decided you want to learn how to play the saxophone but also the guitar, and it's a little bit more difficult when you say, okay, I'm looking at a particular note, I go play it on the saxophone, and then I put the saxophone down, and then I go play it on the guitar. And that's what it's kind of felt like in the shop. But then make that infinitely more complex when you do what I did and basically accumulate a large volume of tools from all kinds of different specialties in a very short span of time, of which each tool has its own degree of its own learning curve. It has its own order of operation, or like how the tool functions and what it's best for versus what it's not best for. You've got tool tuning, like sometimes you could buy a tool and it's not square or it's not in its best form to give you the best results. So it's like all these different things that I'm trying to learn at the same time, which makes the end result that you guys often see probably not be very polished. And I'm okay with that, and I welcome anyone that, is okay with that as well, to check out the channel, to check out some of the things that I am trying to do from one day to the next. As I said, this is Daddy Share Space, so I'm really just sharing all the different things that I do. Many of you know I'm a registered nurse. I'll be repeating that all the time because that's how I get my income. And so I work with a lot of women in my day job, but then I'm married and I have 3 daughters. So there's a lot of women in my life. And as a man, sometimes you just want to do things that men do. And obviously, working on my cars, working in the shop, all of these things are tasks that, traditionally have been things that men do. And I enjoy them quite a bit. Now, you're going to have your degree of criticism when you try to pick up a tool and you don't know what you're doing with it. And that's fine. But something that I wanted to touch on, it's not really super important, but it's just something, I'm sharing my thoughts here. And as I was using my tools the other day in the shop, so I have all of the Festool track saws, all of the current ones, with the exception of the corded TS 55. And I wanted to get it because I want to round out the collection. That way, like as I'm doing my YouTube channel and trying to build up what this channel is, I want to be able to report back to the people that watch this channel, what I think about different things. And over the past few days, me using both the KS60 and the Capex, or the Capex 60 versus the Capex 120, something that just really popped out to me. And that is, I do enjoy battery power. It's super convenient. However, if you do have an outlet, man, I am starting to see the benefit of having a corded tool. And so for me personally, when I weigh the options, right, I want to get the 8 amp hour battery kit that comes with 2 8 amp hour batteries and a charger, so that I can run like my CT MIDI vacuum for a longer period of time. I think that's a reasonable thought process. And also the table saw. So theoretically, in a perfect world, I'd have 2 8 amp hour batteries for my table saw and 2 8 amp hour batteries for that vacuum. However, when I, kind of back up a little bit, and this is just my experience going forward, hopefully you guys can learn vicariously through my mistakes. When I was going over the fact that I'm about 5 batteries short from running all my tools comfortably. That being my track saw, my table saw, my miter saw, and my vacuum. That's in the Festool line. All of those tools I use the 5.2 amp hour battery on, right? And just because of the collection of tools that I bought, I only ended up with 5 batteries. And that's not even including the fact that I do have the Festool TS55 REB, which is the previous version of the cordless track saw. So if I wanted to run that one too, then that would leave me 7 batteries down, right? Now, of course, you don't need all of that, but you know, in my mind, I'm always thinking about setting up stations to make things more efficient. So like if I use one saw for, like, say, cross cutting, another saw for rip cutting, another saw maybe for beveling. I know this is very extravagant, if you will, and not trying to trigger anybody, but it's more, I'm just thinking out loud and sharing my thought process. And over time, when you do things enough, you start to realize what makes sense and what doesn't. Because a lot of times when you are using yourself as your own sounding board, you may come up with some kind of crazy ideas, and I know I have. So separate from getting the corded track saw, separate from getting the cordless track saw for the channel, I am now seeing the benefit of getting the corded track saw so that I don't have to run as many batteries in the shop. The one benefit to the Festool system and their dust extractor is I can plug it into the outlet, the dust extractor being, and then I can plug my tool into that dust extractor, and those things operate perfectly fine with my 110, 120 volt shop. I don't have any issues with the breaker tripping or anything under those circumstances. So it's a lot more efficient to do things like that. And if I'm going to be worried about battery power or batteries not, you know, not being able to cover all my tools during a woodworking session with the batteries without having to stop workflow, then what I could do is allocate my batteries more so towards the tools that need them, i.e. like, say, for instance, have 2 sets of batteries using the table saw. And then, you know, at this point in time, because I can choose to use the KS60 or the Capex, or the Capex 60 versus the Capex 120, I could just basically forego in that particular session using the Capex 60 and just use the Capex 120. And so that really helps out a great deal. Now, there will be certain times where maybe you want to use battery power, meaning the Capex 60, but for if I'm just in the shop, just needing to get things done, I can see right now that if you don't have a ton of batteries around, it's good to have a corded tool. So I think for sure in the future, I do want to get the corded TS55. And obviously I do have the TS60 and the TSV60, which are both corded as well, and they're corded all the time. And so I could just use those. That just popped into my head just now. But I do want to get the other, the TS55, because it does have the plug-it cord. You know, that's one of the things. I know that there was a build reason, or like basically the wiring or whatever you want to call it, in the TS60 and the TSV60, as to why they couldn't put a plug-it cord on there. Probably something to do with the voltage. But I find it, like, say if you were to decide to get the boom arm, or if you were to buy the long hose, I think it's a 10-meter hose, and it comes threaded with a power cord on it, you know, it kind of makes that system a little bit disjointed, because then you're running a second cord when you already have a cord. Like, say if you have a station set up like your MFT to do cross cuts, but then also, you know, maybe you're going to sand in that same spot. If you're using either the Festool boom arm, or if you're using that long 10-meter hose that already has the cord bundled up, you could just unplug your tool and plug in the next tool and keep going. So that would go for the TS55 track saw, the corded. That would go for your jigsaw, your sanders, anything that is a corded tool. You would just be able to unplug and plug in and keep going. Versus if you're using the TS60 or the TSV60, you either have to unplug that cord from your vacuum and then plug in that particular tool, versus having that flexibility of being able to use the same cord for all your tools. So that was my only gripe with the TS60 versus the TSV60. It's probably why it was kind of out of sight, out of mind when I was thinking about getting the TS55 corded version. That being said, those are 3 tools that are on my list to get. I want to get the corded TS55, the corded D-handle jigsaw, and the barrel grip D-handle jigsaw corded. However, I still have to pick up the cordless D-handle a jigsaw, which I'll probably get that first, and then I'll go and get those other tools. Who knows, maybe sometime next year, if I'm in that position economically, maybe I could just get, you know, the 3 of those tools together, like the corded track saw, the corded jigsaw, or both corded jigsaws all in one bundle, and just kind of wipe that out. Now, as far as sanding goes on, I pretty much have everything covered. That, well, I did want to get the 150/5. That was the sander that I wanted to get. And like, as I think back, and I did that video and I was saying how, you know, I saved $100. I'm thinking like maybe I should have just paid the extra $100 and got the sander that I wanted, which was the 150/5, and then just paid the extra $100 and bought the kit for the sandpaper. But I did choose to go with the 150/3, and I'm not unhappy with that or whatever. But because I wanted the 150/5, it's like, okay, that's still a tool out there to purchase. And going back and looking at that is like, okay, I could have just spent $100 more, and then maybe the 150/3 would have never been on my radar. However, as I said, since I'm running a YouTube channel at this time, and I'm trying to provide as much under this under my channel as I can to the viewers, I just think that you know, people can ask me about specific tools, and I can say, okay, yes, I have that in the shop, and I can, you know, go into a little bit of detail on whatever tool that is or whatever. And you know, I know I'm a novice, and I get that, but over time, you know, as long as God gives me life, I'll be here to do these videos and to do things with these tools. So touching back on the sanders, as far as sanders on the list to get, obviously the Rotex 90, that's for sure. So if I were to get all the sanders, right, the ones that would be left, but I'm gonna do them in the order of what I want. The Rotex 90, and then after that, I would say the ETS 155, and then after that, the cordless versions of the DTS and the RTS. And both of those, I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to get the full kit, or if I'm going to get the tool only, or if I'm going to get the kit with the batteries, because you're talking about 3 distinct price differences here. If you buy the DTS or the RTS, just the tool only, it's only $299, which is the same price as the corded version, which I already have the corded ones. That's not a bad idea. However, I'm just wondering, if I get used to using the battery powered sanders and I like them, right, over time, then I would have to go back, and it's like $135 per battery. I don't really need multiple of the corded battery adapters. I already have that with the original kit that I purchased for, I think it was like $690 something or something like that. I got that with the ETS, the 5-inch cordless sander, which I bought the whole package, which comes with 2 batteries and the cordless adapter. So I can use that cordless adapter and those 2 batteries on the other sanders. However, if I do fall in love with the battery powered versions of the sanders, then I'm wondering, is it more economical just to get the full kits for the other 2? Now, as I said, there's 3 different options here. I could buy the sander by itself, which is $299 for both the DTS and RTS, or I could buy the DTS and RTS with 2 batteries for both of them, and that would come up to $569 each for each set. Or the third option is, if you get the corded adapter for both of those, it's $795. If I was doing better before, to be honest, I may have considered just getting all 3 with the cord and the batteries. However, just buying one corded sander at, well, actually buying both of the RTS and DTS for $299, the corded versions, is cheaper than buying one of the cordless versions with the adapter. So that's why I went the other route, so I can try those sanders out and see how I like them in conjunction with the dust extractor. So anyways, just recap: Rotex 90, ETS CEC 150/5, the 2 cordless sanders. This is obviously all idealistically. This is what I would like to do. I'd like to get one more of the cordless ETS 125 sanders and get the angle adapter and bundle those together and keep that always connected, so that if I ever need to sand the edge, that will all just go in one sustainer, so I don't have to take it off and put it on. Obviously that's a first world thing, but that's the cheapest sander that you could buy at $249 on the Festool platform, I believe, without the battery. So that one I wouldn't feel like I need to get additional batteries for. And then, you know, the cherry on the top, which would be more 100% just for the video or for the YouTube channel, would be me getting the ETS 125, or no, yeah, the ETS 125 CEC sander and the Rotex 125. That would be more so that I would be able to give a comparison contrast over a span of time, where you would get to see which one do I reach for on a regular basis. Do I always grab the 6-inch sander, which is the 150, or do I more so lean towards the 5-inch sander? And it's just something that I would find out over time, because you never know. You may, you know, decide that you get the 6-inch sander, and if that's all you have, you adapt to it. Same way, if you get the 5-inch sander, if it's all you have, you can adapt to it. But if you have the options, I'm curious from my perspective, from my own non-scientific study, which one will I reach for the most, and then why? And so over time, I'd be able to kind of share that with you guys. Another note I wanted to pass on, because I heard someone say it on YouTube, you could buy the ETS EC 125 and put the 6-inch pad on it. That is true. However, you won't get the aggressive sanding mode, or and I'm not talking about Rotex. What I mean is the stroke is going to be the same as the ETS 150/3 or the ETS 125. Those are all, they all have that same stroke. So that's the only downfall to buying the smaller sander, which I believe is $100 cheaper at $475, and then just putting the 6-inch pad on there. So you're not going to get that more aggressive setup. So I talked about the sanders, I think. I talked about the fact that I wanted to get the track saw, the 2 jigsaws, and then or actually 3 total jigsaws. So the cordless D-handle and the 2 corded jigsaws. And that's simply because of my personal experience. I'm starting to realize there are times when you want to use something cordless, but then there are also times where it's highly convenient to use corded. Let me touch over onto the vacuums. So I'm looking closely at the different dust extractors. I'm happy with my CT48, very happy with that. I did do a little bit more research, and I see that the CT MIDI does offer the plug-in in the front, the corded version. So over time, the battery powered is just going to be relegated to maybe like shop cleanup, and just like if I'm doing maybe outside doing a fully battery powered thing, like battery powered sander, battery powered jigsaws, whatever. That is what I will be using that vacuum for, maybe vacuum out the car. But in the shop, I think it's going to be a better situation for me, simply because of what I said about how you could plug it into the outlet and plug your tool into it, and it turns off and on without tripping any breakers. I want to get definitely a CT36, because I do plan on picking up a Planex in the future at some point in time, and that one comes with the hose for the Planex. So I do want to get the CT36 auto clean vacuum. And then I want to get probably at least one more CT MIDI, but the corded version. And I'll have to get an extra hose for the CT36, so that when it's plugged into the shop, it could just plug into whatever random tool. So like if I have a station set up for the Capex 120, that'll be plugged into one tool. And then I'll have another station, like say if I use the if I get the corded track saw, or I'm using the TS60, there will be another setup for that with its own dust extractor. And then there will be like a station for like if I'm using other you know, of any other tools, like say like a domino station, a cut station, and then a miter saw station for those 3 vacuums, and I can have them plugged into different outlets and set that up to where when I go to the tool to use it, I'm getting the maximum dust extraction at the tool. And then I think that overall, I think that's where I'm looking at going. Obviously, this is all of the Lord continues to bless me and keep me in a position to be able to do this. And I want to take this time to thank you guys for taking the time to watch my channel, to watch my videos, and to put up with my foolishness. Also, too, I want to thank you guys also for having an open mind, because this is Daddy Share Space. Even though I talk a lot about woodworking and different things, and I do all kinds of different things, I'm just sharing what I do as a guy here in America. Anyways, I'm going to get back with you guys later. I got to go back into work. I want to thank you for taking time to watch this particular video, and I look forward to talking to you more about some of my gaming exploits. I want to bring up my Plex. I'm going to do some videos about Plex, because I do that. And then also, yeah, there's a whole bunch more that I have in my mind that I want to share with you guys. And I just want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity. I'll see you in my next one. Take care.